Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. I would have cancelled the class had it not been for the online viewers. So many are listening to the discourse from the comfort of their home online. So you all have made an adventure to come to this place today. So many roadblocks. Great. Rain, roadblocks. So still you could come. Great. You have made an adventure. So our topic is life is an adventure. Let us see in the next 45 to 50 minutes of time why life is an adventure and how life is an adventure. Khalil Gibran, he made a statement, the mystic and prophet of Lebanon. He says, life and death are the two noblest expressions of bravery. Life and death are the two noblest expressions of bravery. So he has not given any commentary there. We have to understand the meaning of that statement. I may be wrong, but I will try to give you my insight into that statement. Two noblest expressions of bravery, he says, both life and death. Life means, you have taken an embodiment. You have got this body. Soul has taken up the body and mind. In our language, we call Prakriti. The Purusha has taken Prakriti, that indivisible, homogeneous consciousness. The infinite Lord, the infinite consciousness has become finite as it were. Nothing can really limit the infinite consciousness. But once it joins the Prakriti, the consciousness mistakenly experiences itself as limited. The unlimited, the infinite, the boundless feels bound, feels it is limited, feels it has entered into bondage, it is in bondage. Though our philosophy says it is all unreal, the bondage is not real. But as long as you have that experience that you are in bondage, as long as you suffer the bondage, suffer the entanglement, you must admit that it is true. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, entangled in Maya, even Brahman weeps. Entangled in Maya, even Brahman weeps, he says. Once God comes into the human form and bodily form, it takes up the physical and psychological embodiment, cover. He also struggles to come out of it. We are all, of course, bound by prarabdha. That's the reason, actually, we are not able to attain nirvana that fast. Mukti or kaivalya, we are struggling. But it doesn't happen just like that. You have to struggle hard. But even Lord takes up an embodiment on his own. Still he would struggle, he said. In fact, we are all made in the image of God. It's only the Lord struggling to go back to Lord, in fact. The ultimate truth is that there is nothing like human, there is nothing like an animal. The spirit has become bound, the spirit has become limited as it were, and it would become unlimited, boundless, and it will regain its infinite nature again. Temporarily, it has become bound. Probably for that reason, he says, life and death are the two noblest expressions of bravery, Khalil Gibran. Once you get entangled in this, and it's not easy to liberate the soul from the limitations of the matter and the thought. Okay, what are the two covers that we have? The physical body, the matter, and also the psychological body, namely the mind. These two have limited our infinite dimension, have limited our immortal dimension, as it were. And so we don't experience the truth, we don't experience the absolute. All our experiences are only in Maya, in the mind, of course, in the presence of consciousness, in the presence of the infinite. Without that Purusha, without that consciousness, without that soul, mind cannot experience anything because mind is insentient. So presence of the Purusha or presence of the infinite, the immortal, is essential for the experience to happen in the mind. The experiences can happen only when there is divine attached to that. But are we experiencing the divine as divine? No. We are experiencing everything through the mind. That's why our experience is not the highest. There is suffering because mind is by nature both pairs of opposites. Happiness and misery, good and evil, attraction, aversion, all the opposites, heat and cold, we experience because we are in mind. Our experience is born of mind. So philosophy says the mind itself is unreal. So conquer the mind, to conquer the Prakriti is the goal. But is it easy? No. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratkyaya. Because it's God's Maya, it's as powerful as God. That's the problem. So God also struggles to come out of this Maya, his own Maya. Because it's God's Maya. It's as powerful as God. Sri Ramakrishna gives that example of the Lord incarnating as boar to kill that great demon, Hiranyaksha. Okay, he incarnated as a boar and he killed the demon. And afterwards he forgot for what purpose he came to the earth. He took up the boar form. His mission had been done. It was over. But still, he forgot that actually he came from Vaikuntha. He was on a spiritual mission. Now actually he had to go back to Vaikuntha. He took up the embodiment of boar. And then he forgot. And he started living like boar. His own family, boar family. And of course, then gods went and approached Mahadeva, Lord Shiva. He comes down to the earth and through his trident he kills. He liberates the Lord, as it were, from that boar embodiment, from that boar body. Okay, Varaha, pig. And then Lord actually, he had realized his mistake and he goes to Vaikuntha and starts living there. This is all, figurative expressions and stories that we have in Puranas. These stories are told to us to convey a truth. So that's why an adventure. The spirit has undertaken an adventure, as it were. The spirit by descending into matter and thought. And now actually the spirit has to go back to its own nature. It has to free itself from matter and thought, from this entanglement, from this imprison. You are already imprisoned from this jail. This jail is this limitation of the body and the mind. So, why we get stuck here? It's easy to enter, for the spirit to enter into the body and mind, and very difficult for it actually to go, to liberate itself. Why? Because, as I said, it's God's Maya, it's as powerful as God. And the second thing is, the identification begins as soon as you take up the embodiment. Immediately, the soul or the jiva identifies with the body, as it were, and forgets its divine nature. So once you identify with the body, the mind is happy. The mind does that, in fact. It is happy. Once you identify with the body, you will look at the world not as a whole. You will divide the world automatically. Something attracts you, something repels you. And that desire to enjoy the things of the world starts. Okay? The desire to enjoy the things of the world starts. Once you have this desire, then you come into the ambit of the law of karma. Some good karma and some bad karma both come out of that being. Because you have taken cognizance of the world and you consider the world real, Because you have identified with the body, and your bodily existence demands of you that actually you satisfy its cravings. And so, we take interest in the world and we start doing action, because mind is made up of both. Some good action will proceed out of it, out of the body, and some bad action will proceed out of the body. That's how actually karma entangles us. So because this mixture of karma, some merit and some demerit, they both actually bring another embodiment to us. In the sense, with this body you do some actions, some are good, some are bad. All are not actually soul elevating, or all are not liberating actions, right? That's why renunciation and service is so much insisted on. Because if you work with detachment and if you offer the fruits of action to the Lord, and if you don't seek your own self, but the welfare of others is paramount to you, if that is the attitude with which you work, that work is less binding, is less entangling. It slowly actually takes you towards the truth. You will progress towards the truth slowly. The work is less entangling. But if you don't have such an attitude, you are, let us say, in a selfish, self-centered individual, the karma or the work that you perform is binding. It adds bondage. The world is by nature is entangling. It is actually by nature bondage creating. The world, by nature it is like that. And so when you are involved in action, you need to be very careful actually. What is the motive? What actuates you? What goads you into a particular kind of action? You must reflect on it carefully, and you must perform action with detachment. And also, if that action brings the welfare of all, you must look into that. If it is a self-seeking action, naturally it will bind you, bind your soul. So that's how actually we get entangled. You are identified with the body. Good action and bad action both proceed out of the body. And actually this mixture of karma, the mixture of action, will bring you another body, another embodiment. And with that embodiment also, with that body also, you will perform both good action and bad action. And that will bring another life, another body. Like that, actually, life and death, body after body will continue. Superior bodies, inferior bodies, human body, and then maybe animal bodies, like that. The journey of the soul continues. Okay, how long? Nobody knows. You really want to terminate, come out of the samsara, okay? Come out of this transmigratory cycle. If you have that strong desire, if you work towards that direction consciously, one day you will get liberated. Slowly, you will reduce your attachment to the body or identification with the body. And when you deny the lower, slowly, the spiritual nature of your being starts manifesting more and more. And when you become successful in totally detaching yourself from the physical and psychological embodiment, from the body and the mind, you get established in your real nature. That is mukti. That is God realization. That is kaivalya. So you have to work towards that consciously. Once you identify with the body, you don't see things as they are, because now you have desire to enjoy the things of the world. So you naturally become attracted towards certain things, and you get repelled towards certain things, though it's all one God. And because you have identified with the body, you don't see things as they are. Not just a physical identification, the mind is identified with so many things, right? Any adventure, what it requires? It requires courage. Yes? Not everybody can go for an adventure. Only brave hearts can go for an adventure. Any adventure requires courage. You want to climb Mount Everest. What you need is courage. How courage comes? I'm not just talking about the physical adventure. Climbing Mount Everest is physical adventure. That's one kind of adventure, no doubt. Not everybody will go for it. You have to have courage, and then it requires certain training and practice. Okay, afterwards you go for the adventure, and you will become successful in reaching the mountain peak, the physical adventure. Here today we are talking about another kind of adventure, the moral adventure. The real adventure of life is this, the conquest of the mind, conquest of the senses. Climbing peaks like Everest will bring you some recognition, some glory, no doubt that. But here, when you conquer the mind, when you accept this challenge, and you come for this kind of adventure, you will attain to your immortal nature. You will become one with God. This is another adventure, not an easy adventure. It requires great courage. How courage comes? Courage comes through clarity. Right? Who will be bold in the world? Somebody who is confused. Can he be bold? No. Somebody who has clarity, he will get the courage. How clarity comes? Life is an adventure. Adventure needs courage, and courage comes through clarity. How clarity comes? Clarity comes through non-identification. If you are unconditioned mind, if you are not judgmental, if you look at things as they are, then you will have clarity. That clarity actually gives you courage, and that courage will help you, to go for the highest adventure, namely conquest of the mind. So why there is no clarity? Why our understanding is a deluded understanding, a clouded understanding? Because we have identified with so many things, with a caste, with a region, with a religion, with your nation, with gender, with your education. So many things we have identified. And so we look at the world through the prism of these identities. That's why you don't get clarity. You are a clouded mind, you are a confused mind. For clarity, you need to let go all these identifications. You are a free and unconditioned individual. Then when you look with such mind, an unconditioned mind, you will have absolute clarity as to the nature of the world. Then everything you see as God, then will you go for the world? No, because everything is God. I am God, the world is God, everything around me is God. Then what is there for you to seek? You are self-established. Now the seeking arises because I am separate, the world is separate, that is different, this is different. So this kind of understanding has come to you, has come to us, because we have learned to see through the prism of identities. So the less you identify with all these things, the greater the clarity you have, less the confusion you have. And then it is easy for you to go for this adventure. You will become successful in this adventure, in your endeavor. You know Arjuna, the great warrior, he got confused at one point of time. He came to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and there he had developed cold feet. Fear took possession of him. He got totally confused. Vepatuscha sirire me romaharshascha jayata, he says. My body is trembling, he says. He is perspiring because of fear. Why fear came into his mind? Because of confusion. As to what he has to do at that point of time, he got confused. And then he seeks Krishna's wise counsel, and that's how we got Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna cleared his confusion, and then Arjuna mustered courage and went for the battle and became victorious. Sukhinah kshatriya partha labhante yuddham idrusham, he says. Only for a fortunate kshatriya this kind of battle comes, he says. Yadruchya cha upapannam swargadvaram apavritam. Unasked and unsought, swargadvaram apavritam. Yadruchya, just like that. The door of the heaven is opened for you. It is very difficult to get the door of heaven opened for you. But here, with less effort, on its own, this is dharma yuddha. Right, yasva, go for it. It's not the time to withdraw. You are a kshatriya. You have made every effort to prevent the war. That has not become successful. Now, it's not the time actually to show your back. You will get eternal infamy. People will talk ill of you. What if this body goes? Die like a hero, Krishna says. Life is an adventure. Die like a hero. If you win the war, you will enjoy the earth. If you lose the battle, you will go to heaven. Swarga, because it's dharma yuddha, the righteous war. But if you show your back and run away from the battlefield now at this juncture, people will talk ill of you. Not during your lifetime. They will talk ill of you, talk slightingly of you forever, forever. Don't be like that coward Arjuna, the mothers will say to their children. You be anything, but don't be like that coward Arjuna. So that frightened Arjuna. So because warrior, like Kshatriya. And Krishna was trying to infuse Paurusha, that manliness, into Arjuna at that point of time. So we also get confused. So many situations will arise in our lives where we get confused, get deluded. And so if you clear the mind of all identities and just try to look at the thing, you will have clarity. And from that clarity comes courage. And when you have courage, actually it becomes easy for you to go through this adventure. Not that actually we have taken up the adventure on our own, but we are pushed into this adventure as it were. So when that is the case, then go for it. Have clarity, that's all. Gain clarity and go for the adventure. You're forced to. So ultimately we know what happened in the Mahabharata war. The beautiful message that Krishna gives is this. Life is a battle for everybody. And if you have this philosophy, it becomes easy for you to battle this philosophy, battle this war. Life is a struggle. Life is a battle. If you have this philosophy, this understanding, what he has given to Arjuna, you will be able to face the battle easily. So we need to equip ourselves. We need to empower ourselves with this philosophy of life. You know, in Srimad Bhagavatam, the conversation between Prahlada and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu practically conquered the 3 worlds. He was so rich. He had power. He had wealth. He had everything. All the great powers in the world surrendered to him. Okay? Including Indra. Everybody surrendered because he was so powerful. But he was very hearty and he was telling that, who is greater than me? I have conquered the 3 worlds. I have attained the greatest success that a man can attain to. Everybody was respecting in the world, in the universe. Everybody is bowing before him except his own son. The son says, "Oh Father, your conquest is not the real conquest. Your victory is not the real victory. You have not achieved anything bigger because you don't have peace." Why? You are bound by 6 enemies. Who are the enemies? Hiranyakashipu was telling, I have killed all my enemies. No, Father, 6 enemies have bound you. His own son, the boy, was telling Prahlada, who are those enemies? He says. Prahlada says, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madam, Asarya. Kama, desire. Krodha, anger. Lobha, greed. Moha, delusion. Mada, pride. Matsarya, jealousy, vanity. So these are all the enemies who have bound you. You are not free. These enemies have conquered you. And you are not trying to conquer these enemies. And you are saying that I have conquered every enemy. These enemies actually have bound you. And liberate you yourself from these enemies, then I consider it as the real conquest of you. But because of his Asuric temperament, because of his Rajasic temperament, he could not understand. He did not embark on that journey at all. He was not able to figure out. But Prahlada had the clarity because of the devotion he had for the Lord. He knew that in spite of having the entire world for himself, his father was not that happy. His father was not having peace. His father had no sense of fulfillment in him. The boy could discern that. And whereas the boy was tranquility personified, peace, personification of peace, radiating bliss because of the complete surrender he had achieved to the divine, because he had surrendered himself totally at the feet of the Lord. It did not dawn on Hiranyakashipu, you also should have the same kind of conquest, the kind of conquest that I have achieved. But Prahlada was telling that I don't consider it as a conquest at all. You're not embarked on the real adventure as yet, O Father. The boy was denying Father's success. That annoyed him terribly. Whole world worships me, praises my success, recognizes my success. You are the only exception, and you are born of my own blood. Your own son rejecting Father's success. It is a terrible, annoying kind of thing. Terribly, frustrating thing for you, Hiranyakashipu. That's why he tortured his son. And you are worshipping our enemy, that Vishnu, that he is our enemy. The Prahlada says, how can that Vishnu can be your enemy? It's the Vishnu who is supporting, he says. He is the support of the strong people, he is the support of the weak. It's he who sustains the whole universe. How can you make Vishnu your enemy, O Father? So give up this pride, give up this ahankara, ego sense, then you will understand the nature of things clearly. But he was asura by nature, had no clarity in life. His idea of success was different. He had a different goal in life, different kind of ambition. But the boy knew that actually that kind of conquest would not make an individual fulfilled. So you have to conquer the mind, you have to conquer the senses, to have the greatest experience of life, to have the highest experience of life. Now today our problem is in the world. Not many are able to figure out and find out how much they need for survival, how much I need. This material world, everybody wants to have more and more. How much more you want? You just figure it out first. How much more you want? You have enough. No, I don't have enough. I want more. How much more? Now, what you will do with that more, I am asking. Even if you gain. They don't know, but still they are, in the race. See, that means what? You understand only one dimension of your personality, that is a physical dimension. Nothing else you understand. That means you are the lowest of the creature. You have another dimension, that is the mind. To subdue the mind, to conquer the mind, to control the mind at least. If you cannot conquer, at least control it. It doesn't happen accidentally, it doesn't happen just like that. It requires penance, it requires tapas, it requires austerity, it requires renunciation. You need to do selfless service. All these are to gain mastery over the mind. And for people, it takes a lot of time to find out that it's the mind which is the source of happiness and it is just mind which is the source of unhappiness. When you are in the beginning, in the primitive stages of life, I should not say primitive, I will say kindergarten of life, let us say. Okay? Your understanding is that if I have wealth, if I have physical necessities, I will be the happiest person in the world. You acquire things and you see. You have acquired things, what you wanted, what you have aspired for, but still you are not happy. You just show one person in the world who is fully contented and happy with whatever he or she has achieved. Physical things, material things. No, they are going for more and more of it. They have not even figured it out, that it is the mind which is the source of happiness and it is the mind which is the source of unhappiness. If you don't learn the art of mastering the mind, you may have all things of the world, still you will not be happy. And so this is the next phase in evolution. First anyway, okay, physical body only I understand. I need to provide for my physical body. Provide for it by all means. How much you need, have clarity, oh this much. Okay, I have acquired the minimum things that the body requires, the sustenance of the body requires. You have gained that. And next, you just turn to the mind. Cultivate the intellect. Have higher thought, have higher goals. Have higher aspiration, purify the mind, purify the intellect, grow intellectually. You just see all this hullabaloo going in the world. The worship of the Lord going in. What kind of worship is going on? So much of noise, din. That means what? You are peaceless from within, right? If you are really peaceful and from within, will you engage in such kind of actions? That noise actually how it will bring peace into you. Neither it is clear proof that you don't have any peace within. If you have peace, you will just be like this. You will radiate peace around. Now, not only that you don't have peace, you disturb others' peace also. You make such huge noise and you disturb others' peace. Because you don't want others to enjoy peace. When I don't have peace and that guy also should not have peace. It's sadism, right? I make such huge noise. If you don't have peace and do whatever you want, but why do you disturb others? Why do you create such noise? No, he also should not enjoy peace. When I don't have peace, what right he has to enjoy peace? I think it is sadism. You are not trained to cultivate the mind. That is the problem. In our schools, that is not taught. How to remain in yourself. If you are taught this, if you can remain in yourself, if you can be in yourself, and if you can do action consciously as much as that is necessary in the world, not compulsory action. All the time you're restless, you have to do something. You can't be in yourself. Compulsory action. Activity is the manifestation of inferior strength, Swamiji says. That means only a weak man will remain in action all the time. A strong man, when action is required, he does the action. When action is not required, he is just in himself. Totally absorbed in himself. Weak people, compulsory action, because I am restless. Something I have to do all the time. The compulsion itself is slavery. You are already born, you are in slavery. You don't understand this slavery. And you have to struggle to come out of this slavery, but they don't understand it that easily. That's the problem. The vast mass of human population is stuck at the level of the physicality. They don't even understand the mental dimension, the intellectual dimension of their personality. Forget about the spiritual dimension, which is higher, still higher. And you will come closer to the spiritual dimension only through meditation, through selfless service, through repetition of God's name, through devotional bhajan, singing. These sadhanas actually you have to bring into our lives. Once if these sadhanas are given to individuals from childhood, okay, they will remain absorbed in themselves by the time they become teens, or by the time they enter into, early youth. They don't need all this compulsion. They don't have to run about here and then. They don't have to take stuff like alcohol or things like that to make themselves happy. You have been introduced to the sadhanas and you have learned how to still your mind, how to calm your mind. You are happy. From early childhood, like that age, you have to train. For that actually parents should do little meditation. At least at least pretend that you are meditating in front of your children. Anyway, you can't control your mind by closing your eyes, but your children will be able to control. But they will develop as a habit. And slowly, as they keep practicing that posture, they will turn their attention inward and they will know how to still their mind, how to be in themselves. If it is not taught from childhood, suddenly you want to acquire it, and now you're already a restless guy. It takes time. It's a hard struggle. So the fear, as I keep telling it again and again, the parents have is this. The moment the child closes his eyes and sits in this posture, they're frightened. Like Hiranyakashipu, how he was frightened with Prahlada's devotion. They get frightened. Wow, what is this? What happened to this child? Some psychological problem? They will show the child to a psychiatrist. They think that the individual will become unfit for the struggles of life. There's a misconception. You are empowering the child for the struggle of life. Because now the child knows how to control his mind. Now the child knows where to focus his mind and how to focus his mind. He will become successful in the external world in less time. You just see the world full of struggle and strife. Every individual is battling it out. Because you have no control absolutely over your thought and emotion. You are a total slave. That's the reason so much of unconscious action is happening. But if these spiritual practices are introduced, when they work like a lion. When there is no work, they are absorbed in themselves. Who has done greater work than Buddha or Shankara or Vivekananda? Who has done? You just tell me. The people who have become spiritually enlightened, they were the people who had done the greatest of action. Because they had total mastery over their mind. Because we are belaboring under this slavery, slave to our own instincts, desires all the time. Absolutely no control over emotions. The suffering from within. And you are desperately seeking a little joy from external things. So the outward manifestation is, that's whatever the din and noise that we see is that. All in the name of religion. All in the name of practicing religion that's happening. So in the process, you have the right to practice religion, but if it is disturbing, your very practice of religion, if it is disturbing to others, are you incurring merit? Are you gaining merit or demerit? You practice religion whichever way you want. But my practice of religion actually is troubling others, some section of the people, or some other life. Then is it okay? No. But according to law of karma, if your practice of religion, your practice of dharma, whichever way you understand, it is causing trouble to others, you will incur demerit also. Some bad karma will accumulate over your head. You are not conscious of that. This is a tamasic action, the lowest way to worship the Lord. There are better ways to worship the Lord. As we don't teach our children these better ways to worship the Lord, they will become restless. They will long for some peace, some little joy. Not even joy, it's just little, excitement. Okay. Little nervous titillation. What it gives, this kind of dancing and all things? Little nervous titillation for the moment. Afterwards you get exhausted and you will fall asleep like a dead man. You dance and then you fall dead by night, 10 o'clock. You are exhausted, your nerves, that's all right. You have not gained energy, you have dissipated your energy. You have lost your energies. You don't gain energies thereby. You are dissipating your energies constantly. All this happens because you don't introduce them to spiritual practices early in life. That we don't do because parents have misconceptions, thinking that if the child starts meditating so early in life, he will become unfit for the struggles of life. He will not become successful in the mundane world, the material world. Not that. Absolute misconception. You don't know how to empower the child, but you are a parent. You don't know how to enhance the competencies and capabilities of the children, and you are a parent, and you are a teacher. You don't know how to equip them with the struggles for life. You are a parent, you are a teacher. Okay? You yourself are a kid. Because physically you have grown, age has come, you have become parent by accident. You have not grown intellectually. You have not grown in your understanding of life. So there is a greater kind of adventure. Climbing Mount Everest, Kilimanjaro is an adventure, no doubt. There is a greater adventure, that is the conquest of the mind, conquest of the senses. Beyond that, Prahlada was telling Hiranyakashipu, that is the real conquest, Father. I don't care for your success. Ultimately, he wanted to kill Prahlada and he got killed in the attempt. He did not know, Father did not know what was the attainment of my child. He couldn't know. Only when he died, probably at the last moment of his death, he could understand. His child was invincible because he had attained God. He had attained the truth. The fool, he could have understood little earlier. When he made an attempt to kill Prahlada, all his attempts got foiled. He threw him into the fire. The fire could not burn Prahlada. He brought poisonous serpents to bite Prahlada, but they became like garlands for him. He threw his boy over the cliff, but he didn't die. He fell from such a height, but he didn't die. He got him trampled under the feet of elephants. Still the boy didn't die. He could have understood that time at least. Conventional methods, any ordinary human being would have died immediately. But his boy didn't die. At least he could have understood that what he has achieved is superior to what I have achieved in my life. But his pride and his vanity and his ego didn't allow him to surrender before the boy. And he paid the price. He got killed by Lord in that man-lion form, Narasimha Avatara. To protect his child, Lord incarnated. So there is a greater adventure in life. That society is the greatest society, and that civilization is the greatest civilization which has the maximum number of such people who have embarked on conquering the mind, people who have taken up the ideal of renunciation and service. If a society has a considerable percentage of such people who have taken up this ideal of renunciation and service, or this conquest of the mind, they're all synonymous because the practice is different, otherwise it's one and the same. And that society is the greatest society. If a society fails to produce greater number of individuals who can go for this higher adventure, then other society is all the more poor. It's not a great society. It's very important that you create such individuals. That's for your own good. Who can go for this higher ambition or higher objective of life, namely attaining spiritual illumination. So Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, he went for this kind of adventure, moral adventure, you can say. Many people in the past, if you read of Puranas, people like Satya Harishchandra, Yudhishthira, Bhishma, Karna, Bali, a number of examples. Practicing dharma is an adventure. Great adventure. Not easy to practice dharma. You will have many trying circumstances. There will be so many temptations to make you forego dharma. But you can stand up to those temptations and hold on to dharma in spite of all the temptations that try to bring you down morally. You are a hero. People don't embark on this or come for this adventure because they don't know the fruit, what fruit they are going to get out of it. If you can understand the fruit that you will get after such an adventure, you will go for it, for sure. And that's one problem. Okay, I will go for a moral adventure, I will practice dharma. What you will get in the end? Liberation. Kaivalya. You will become one with the Lord. What did Prahlada gain? Nalinakshudan Nidhanam Ganti says, I have discovered the treasure called the Lord. This is such a great treasure. Hiranyakashipu had his own treasure, the physical treasure. His coffers are full with gold and silver and diamonds. Prahlada has attained to this nirvana kind of bliss. He has attained to the Lord, the owner of the universe. So this is a greater treasure, it says. So this nidhana, this treasure trove, I have discovered. So you will get that if you embark on a moral adventure. The world will always be tempting. It will try to make you fall morally. But you have to hold on to yourself. Satya Harishchandra, how could he practice that degree of truthfulness? Because he considered practicing truth more important than life itself. Death is okay for me, but I will not tell a lie. Truthfulness is so important for me. Every moment he had highest of the temptations. Still, he stood up to all these temptations and ultimately emerged victorious. They become immortal. Satya and Harishchandra, they go together. They become very embodiment of Satya. If you want to compare, somebody is very truthful, oh, he is just Harishchandra, I say. That quality of practicing truthfulness and Harishchandra became one, as it were. Bhishma, he had undertaken a pledge that he would not marry. He stuck to that. So many temptations came in between. To give up that pledge, no, but Bhishma. So Bhishma Pratigya, pledge of Bhishma, we say. Because they were heroes in their own way. They knew that practicing dharma is a great adventure in this world of Maya. But they loved that adventure. If you love that adventure, you will do it. You will have courage and you will do it in the end. So, Mahatma Gandhi also went for this kind of adventure. Moral adventures. People asked him actually, why have you come to politics if your goal is nirvana or moksha? If you want to attain to truth or God, why are you there in politics? Mahatma Gandhi said actually, the politics encircle us like the coil of a snake. Right? There is no way you can get out of it. I mean, you can be free from politics. None of us are actually free from politics. Somebody rules us. Who rules us? Politician. You are a subject, he is a ruler. So he says, I want to introduce truth in politics. Great adventure. Not an easy thing. I want to introduce truth in politics. Very difficult. You know how much of truth can be practiced in that field today. But Mahatma Gandhi went for this adventure. I wanted to set himself as an example. So that's why I am experimenting with myself and with my friends, he said. How much of truth you can practice by staying in politics? Because we are all involved in politics. Politics actually decide our destinies. So it's not that actually you can do without politics. No, we are in a political system. We are all subjects. We are all in a kingdom. He said, I am experimenting to myself and with the friends how much of truthfulness, how much of truth I can bring into politics, this calling, this occasion is very important. Of course, unfortunately, for many of our politicians, Mahatma Gandhi is not the role model. They think that if you want to become Gandhi, you will not become successful in politics. But Mahatma Gandhi never cared to become successful in politics. Success in politics was not his goal. To be in politics and to practice truth was his goal. Success was not his goal. To attain to power was not his goal. So he could practice. The power never tempted him. He said, the politician in me never dominated in my decisions, he said. In all the decisions I had taken, the politician in me never dominated. Am I truthful? Am I sticking to dharma? That's all. That alone actually weighed on him. That alone he considered, nothing else. Moral adventure. Not many understand this. He had a lot of courage. Great courage is required to practice non-violence. A coward cannot practice non-violence. Mahatma Gandhi was very clear. The non-violence cannot be the weapon of the coward. It cannot be the weapon of the weak. The strongest of the strong, the greatest of the great, a man who has got extraordinary renunciation alone can practice non-violence. That's why he led an ascetic life. Only a man who has this renunciation in his kitty, he can practice non-violence. He can practice truthfulness. It's a moral adventure, and a higher kind of adventure. See, just see the world. Physical courage is so common, and moral courage is so uncommon. Physical courage, you see the road rage. Somebody came and hit your vehicle, and immediately you turn back. How dare you hit me? Physical courage. You fly into rage. You get into verbal abuse. Physical courage everybody has. But what about the moral courage? Do you want to be truthful? No. You practice truthfulness and see how much of courage you have. Show your courage here in this sphere. Show your courage in this sphere. Mahatma Gandhi had shown that. All the great examples I have quoted, like Harishchandra, Bhishma, Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, he had a prayer. Parama apad gatasyapi dharmo mama matihi bhavet. Parama apad gatasyapi. There may be great difficulties in life. Dharmo mama matih bhavet. May my mind, in spite of the difficulties, may my mind doesn't serve from dharma. That was his prayer. So when life goes comfortably, everything is going smooth. We are all actually moral titans. When difficulties come, the problem comes. We become loose with morals, right? But that's why Vibhishana had this prayer. Paramapadgatasyapi dharmoho mama matih bhavet. Give me strength, O Lord, so that I can practice dharma, even in the greatest of the difficulty. Rama practiced it. He could have asked his father, so you have given some promise, you have made some promise to your third wife. Why should I go to forest for your promise? Did he say like that? Why should I take that discomfort of forest life because of the promise that you have made to your third wife? Did he say? He looked upon all the three mothers equally, Kausalya, Sumitra and Kaikeyi. If you have made the promise to Kaikeyi, she is as much a mother as Kausalya is to me. It's as good as you have made the promise to my mother. And as a son, it's my responsibility to fulfill the obligations of the father. I'm an obedient son, father, command me. Bhishma, for the sake of Shantanu, his father, made a great sacrifice. Father wanted to marry another woman, fine. Sacrifice his life for the sake of father. Rama actually made himself a sacrifice for the sake of his father, his own life. They had their own temptations, right? But they withstood. You see the bravery, you see the courage. Men of exceptional strength, men of exceptional caliber. They could get that strength because of the renunciation. This way, this is a land of renunciation. Not a land of bhoga, it's a land of yoga, a land of ascetics. And through such practice, you will attain God, of course. You will have your reward. The path is difficult, but tread the path. Have the courage to tread the path, to walk the path. You will get what you will get, the truth, the ultimate, that a man can ever aspire for, a creature can ever aspire for. There is nothing greater than that. So we have to put more and more people on this adventure, the adventure of seeking the truth. And that is real education. That is real society. That is real parenting. That is real teaching. This is important. Today we have given up that. We don't want moksha. Nobody wants liberation. Artha and kama. I don't want dharma. I don't want moksha. Artha and kama. So any society which only seeks these two, artha and kama, but doesn't care for dharma, moksha, is a weak society. So we need human beings with strength, human beings who can embark on this spiritual journey, who can embark on this adventure, who can embark on this moral adventure, who will try to practice dharma in spite of all the odds that they will have to face. Let odds come, let difficulties come, let troubles come, but I will hold on to dharma. Then you are a warrior in the true sense of the term. We are all in the battlefield of life. How great a warrior you are, you have to prove that to the Lord. Okay? If you have confusion, you are a warrior like Arjuna, but you are confused, then come to Bhagavad Gita. You will get clarity. You will get clarity. The Lord is there to give clarity. The scripture is all about that. How can you embark on this greatest adventure? How can you go for this? Absolute clarity will get. Because you are all more or less in the same condition like Arjuna. Come to the scripture, read that, okay, and go for this greatest adventure. You are already in the battlefield of life. And try to prove, let us try to prove how great a warrior we are all. Okay, we shall call it a day now. It's time for Arati. Let's meditate 2 minutes before we disperse.
Ooh.